gears and start the precept study. And so now we can hit record. So I'm going to say the opening verse. Please make a show. May the sacred presence of the one who said he would abide in his teaching be our guide. May we follow his glorious example and tread with unfaltering step this noble path until we too shall attain enlightenment. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, bodhisattvas, mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, maha, prajna, paramita. Well, tonight we'll have a very short introduction to precept study. I'm noticing that that it is 8 o'clock, and so I'm going to start in. Luckily, I built in a little bit of flexibility into these first 2 classes, and my objective, my thought for tonight is to give an introduction to how we'll do a home practice, like what the practice is going to be, and what traditionally has been the practice, and just a little bit of a sense of why we do this practice, how it fits in. So I sent a link that Dixie quickly picked up, had really kind of crazy dates on it. So somehow, and then that's why I was a little bit late coming back, because I frantically looked in my Google Drive, and I sent the wrong link, but I wasn't quick enough on my feet to give you the correct one, because I thought it's right on this computer, but you don't have that one. So I will send the correct links, but to clarify, what we're starting tonight is class number 1 in our precept study of the 16 Bodhisattva precepts, and it will be 8 consecutive weeks. So no gaps. It will run through basically the end of October. And traditionally, we study the precepts together each year. It's kind of part of the liturgical calendar, and precepts and zazen are our fundamental practice. So bringing the heart of zazen, we think of zazen of being able to meet whatever arises, dropping the self. That's this very prescribed practice that we cultivate on the cushion. And the 16 Bodhisattva precepts, what we read this evening, the Kyoju Kaimon, are a description of enlightened activity, and a description of how is it that we move and function in this world with this heart of zazen. So bringing the 2 together, they function really well together. Zazen by itself, really, we need to make it function. That's really the point of it, is making it function, bringing it alive. It's not about being good meditators in a lot of ways, but meditation supports this effort to manifest our own Buddha nature, our own enlightened nature as we meet circumstance. It's our little bit of enlightenment to make seen and known and present and manifest in the world. So the precepts, they look deceptively like a lot of how-tos and do-nots. And so at first glance, it can kind of be like, huh? But it really is this mirror, this way of this, like how to be a bodhisattva, how to be an enlightening being in the world. This is how you do it and how you work with it. Let me consult my notes for a moment here. See what I wanted to say. So this class is traditionally done in preparation for taking Jukai. So that is when someone formally takes the precepts. There's a ceremony where someone publicly declares, this is how I wish to live. I wish to be a Buddhist, and this is how I wish to live. And there's so often, traditionally, the class series is given in preparation for Jukai. And, you know, we're a smaller group, so sometimes we have the ceremony, sometimes um, we don't, just because we're a tidy, cozy group. So, but part of what we do each year is we engage in this precept study as a way of renewing our vows and as a way of coming back again and again for those of us who've done that ceremony before. And oftentimes it's a great class for those who are just interested in what that practice is about. It's one of besides Zazen, that's our primary practice. So it's really great for people to engage it. This class is it's not really about academics, about a lot of background history. It's really about engaging it. It's really about figuring out how, what the precepts look like in practice for you, and how to engage them for yourself. So it's going to be a lot of discussion and specific practices. I was going to try to screen share. That's why I'm like, I'm going to do some fancy maneuvers. Hang on to your hats, people. Think I can do it. I had things lined up, but let's see. Let me see if I can do it. I don't know if that it's possible. Let's see. Bear with me. 2 shakes here. All right, are you seeing this with the May dates on it? Okay, cool. So just to get us oriented, so we're starting tonight. We'll continue next week, and we'll also talk about the contrition and the 3 pure precepts. And then we get into the 10 grave precepts, and you'll see that there's different people who've stepped forward to facilitate discussion on that. And I'm super excited that people have agreed to do that and step forward. So they'll be offering their kind of practice experience and leading discussion. And what we'll be doing is, so you'll see, like next week, we're going to talk about the rest of an introduction to the precepts and contrition and 3 pure precepts. And then what I will invite you to do is to specifically work with the precepts on not killing and cultivating life, and not stealing and honoring the gift not given. And so we'll specifically work on that precept, try to keep that one as much as we can, and then be able to share our experiences with that. So just know that that's kind of what's coming. And again, those weird May dates. Here are some resources. I'm going to send an updated link. I don't think it was on the website quite yet. I'll just check in that. So this will be available to folks. And we aren't using a specific book, but there's some recommended books that will be super helpful. And of course, the Kyoju Kaimon itself that we read this evening, and a couple of great links from Dharma Rain. I would highly recommend reading this essay by Kyogen, Precepts as Path. That is really a great reference and starting point, and really gives a flavor of how we work with it in our lineage, and is really great. And I'll probably be referring to that. And I just wanted to also share, so the practice for the 8 weeks is one of the things that we'll do or recommend, and you can do variations, is to do Kyoju Kaimon practice, reading practice, and a reflection practice. So I wanted to give an introduction to this tonight so people can get started on this if they wish. So what the idea is in the morning, you just read, and there's a little description here, you just read the Kyoju Kaimon sometime in the morning. People really vary this depending on their life and schedule and things going on, but it's great if you can do it early in the day. And just simply read through the Kyoju Kaimon and allow it to just kind of wash over you, and not necessarily engage in any analysis or thinking about it too much, almost taking it on like a chanting practice. Just let it wash through you. And then in the evening, there's something that is called a reflection practice. So what you do is you pull the events of the day. I'm going to stop sharing so you can see me. You pull the events of the day through your mind and just reflect on what happened during the day. And what you'll notice is just you're encouraged to notice any points of contraction, any points of tension, any kind of. The other thing that over the past couple of years, a few times of doing the precepts, I've also taken on the practice, kind of coming out of our group discussions, of noticing points of expansion, notice the points of relaxation, notice where I feel aligned, where it feels like, oh, that happened and I had that conversation and I really felt like I was meeting that moment, just noticing. So it's a simple practice. You spend time in the morning reading, and then you spend time in the evening reflecting on the day. And oftentimes what happens is the two kind of come together. You may notice a precept that sort of stands out and highlight when you're reading it. And somehow that might connect with points of contraction or expansion later on. But again, you don't have to force any of that. It really does sort of happen with regular practice. So I encourage you to start in on that and start to notice what happens. And I will say with the reflection and the recollection practice in the evening, take heart that it can get a little bit more. So it seems to me like if I haven't done it for a while, it takes longer initially, and then I get a little bit better at it. It takes longer because I zone out, honestly. So I start to go down paths, or I just start to get caught up in the events, and you get better at it, honestly. So if it's taking a while or you feel like you can't stay with it, just hang in there is my encouragement for that. So I wanted to talk about that. Well, I see we have about 6 minutes. So I'm going to do something different. One other thing that I had wanted to do is for those, I think most folks, I would say the majority of the folks have actually done this practice before. I'm looking around, or I've had some exposure to the precepts. I think so I have a discussion question that I'd love to check in on. As people are thinking about precept study, I'm wondering what people are what their response is to it this time around. What is it that you're wanting to focus on, or what is it that you are hesitant about? Any what is the response this time around? I'm not phrasing that really well, but I'd love to hear from folks of like what your response is to it now. So if anybody would like to share anything.
Can you see me? Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Lexi.
Yes. I seem to have power now.
Oh, fantastic.
The last time we had power for 2 seconds and it went off again, but perhaps it's on. So anyway, so thank you. I'm sure that all of our evening has helped. I have no idea if that's true or not, but in terms of the precepts, I've never totally taken the whole session. And so I'm really looking forward to this time really being able to be in attendance for all of the sessions and really get into the practice at a much deeper level than I've ever been able to before. Because there's always been some sort of interruption of something or the other. And now with Zoom, there's no excuses. So I'm looking forward to that.
Fantastic. Anybody else thinking about what their intention is or their response, what they're hoping for this time around?
I just had this thought. Probably not really going to answer your question, but I just had every year I have trouble with the reflection practice. So I kind of come up with different creative ways to do it each year. And I just had this thought this year. this past week, I participated in a study where at the end of the day, I had to like, they randomly like pinged me on an app and I had to answer a survey about how I was feeling throughout the day. And at the end of the day, I spoke into a microphone and talked about all of the different interactions that I had and how they made me feel. So I think I'm going to try that for the reflection practice this year and see how that goes. Just kind of, I don't know, I'll try it.
Monica, I've come to rely on you for great ideas about how to do the reflection. You're the person that was through this that I discovered bullet journals, and because that came up through this. And so I think thanks. I would be really curious to hear like how that feels.
Yeah.
And I think it is nice for people to kind of adapt the rhythm of it for what works for them. I think the most important part is doing our best to build in like ways to support ourselves and being consistent. And maybe I say that because that's my thing. I need ways. I need stuff that keeps me consistent. I have a habit of like changing my system because like that wasn't work. I fell off the wagon and I just try a new system. So for me, that's my big challenge. So it's always helpful to hear what other people, how they support themselves. Anybody else have anything they want to share about like their intention or hopes for this time around?
I'm looking forward to Jukai.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I am wondering if I just want to check in. Does the reflection practice, the recollection reflection practice, and the Kyoju Kaimon practice seem pretty clear for people? Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing nods. So I just encourage you to get started on that. In a way, since this is such a short introduction, it's kind of an opportunity to just do that practice without much analysis or whatever, just like simply do the practice and see how that feels for the week. And I'll do more of an introduction and we'll get into talking about contrition and the 3 pure precepts and check in on how the reflection is going next week. And I am quite curious to know where we'll all be at a week from now, how things will be looking. I'm so glad. I was feeling a little bit, I don't know what, just a little distracted, frazzled, and I'm just really glad to do the practice together and glad to start diving into precepts in this particular time in our world. It feels like, for me, I guess that's one of my my thoughts is the practice is the same, but it feels really fresh and different when I think about the division that we're encountering in our country and some challenges that I hadn't encountered before. So I think this will be a helpful support as we enter into the election season and as we just meet these like changing circumstances. So I guess I will leave it at that. Well, no, I will ask you if there are any final thoughts or questions about where we're headed, and I will revise that link. So look, I'm going to send out a note. Look on the website for the revised dates and then those resources. Any other clarifying questions or anything else? I think we are good. So I'll say the closing verse. Please make a show. Abiding in this ephemeral world, like a lotus in muddy water, the mind is pure and goes beyond. Thus we bow to Buddha. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, bodhisattvas, mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, maha prajna paramita. Thanks again, everyone, for sharing the practice. If you'd like to unmute yourself to say goodnight, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, see you soon. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, you guys. I feel so much
Thank
better.
you.